Do the Olympics truly leave a legacy of prosperity or a trail of economic ruin? The Olympic Games, a global spectacle of sport and unity, are often seen as a pinnacle of honor and opportunity for the host cities. Every 4 years, nations around the world vie for the chance to showcase their culture, infrastructure, and national pride on an international stage. The general perception suggests that hosting the Olympics is a gateway to economic prosperity and urban development. It's believed that the event brings in waves of tourists, creates thousands of jobs, and leaves behind state-of-the-art sports facilities that would benefit the community for generations. However, hosting the Olympics is not just about the glitz and glamour. It involves massive investments in infrastructure, which often spirals out of budget, and the anticipated boom in tourism sometimes falls short of expectations. Moreover, the grand stadiums and facilities, once buzzing with the world's elite athletes, risk becoming underused relics. But beneath the surface, the reality for some host cities tells a different story. Let's travel back to 1976, to Montreal, where the financial echoes are still heard today. Picture a city buzzing with excitement, ready to host the world at the 1976 Summer Olympics. Montreal aimed to showcase its vibrancy and culture on a global stage. However, this dream quickly spiraled into a financial nightmare. Originally budgeted at an estimated $300 million, the costs ballooned to over $1.5 billion by the end of the Games. The centerpiece of this financial debacle was the Olympic Stadium, fondly nicknamed the Big O, a nod to its design and, ironically, to the size of its debt. The stadium was a marvel of architectural ambition, but also a symbol of the financial mismanagement that plagued the Games. Construction delays and labor strikes pushed costs higher, and the final structure was completed well past the deadline, missing the opening ceremonies. The fiscal aftermath was staggering. Montreal found itself saddled with a debt that would take nearly 30 years to clear. The burden fell heavily on local taxpayers, who were left to grapple with the economic repercussions long after the athletes had gone home. The promised economic boom turned to bust, as anticipated tourism and investment gains failed to materialize. The city's economy struggled under the weight of this debt. Investments in public infrastructure and services were curtailed, affecting the quality of life and economic growth. The financial strain was not just a ledger entry, it was felt in homes, schools, and businesses throughout Montreal. The story of Montreal's Olympics is often cited as a cautionary tale about the risks of hosting such mega events without stringent financial controls and realistic budgeting. It serves as a stark reminder that the glamour of the world stage can sometimes come at a prohibitive cost. Montreal's dream of Olympic glory turned into decades of debt and economic challenges. Fast forward to 2004, Athens hoped to recreate the magic of the ancient games. In a city steeped in history, where the very concept of the Olympics was born, the anticipation was palpable. Athens, the proud capital of Greece, was set to host the grand spectacle of the 2004 Summer Olympics. It was a moment charged with symbolism and a chance to showcase a modern Greece on an international stage. However, the aftermath painted a starkly different picture. The hope of reviving the ancient glory translated into a spree of constructing state-of-the-art sports facilities. Athens built 22 new venues specifically for the Games, a monumental task that was both ambitious and financially demanding. The cost? A staggering 7 billion euros, a figure that eventually ballooned to over 15 billion euros, far exceeding initial budgets and expectations. The financial strain was just the beginning. Post-Olympics, the glitter faded rapidly. These architecturally praised venues, once teeming with the world's finest athletes, stood eerily silent. Today, many of these structures are ghost venues, unused, neglected, and crumbling. The decay is not just physical, but symbolic, highlighting a gross mismanagement of resources. The once bustling Olympic Village and the state-of-the-art sports facilities are now mere shadows, often used as cautionary tales rather than sports complexes. The impact of this overspending played a significant role in exacerbating Greece's financial crisis. The country, which was already dealing with economic challenges, found itself grappling with an even heavier burden of debt and austerity measures. The dreams of economic boosts and improved infrastructure turned into long-term financial nightmares. As one walks through these abandoned venues, the silence speaks volumes. Overgrown with weeds and graffiti-covered, These structures serve as stark reminders of what happens when the spectacle ends and reality sets in. The remnants of the games stand as modern ruins, symbols of misplaced priorities and financial mismanagement. In 2014, Sochi was transformed for the Winter Olympics, but at what cost? Nestled along the Black Sea coast, Sochi is a picturesque locale that, before 2014, was primarily known as Russia's favorite summer resort. But as the Winter Olympics approached, this quiet resort town underwent a massive, costly transformation. The final bill for these games? A staggering $51 billion, making it the most expensive Olympics ever held. But where did all this money go? Infrastructure, for one. Sochi saw a complete overhaul. New sports venues, roads, and even an entire railway system were constructed. The scale of development was unprecedented for a city of its size. However, while these might seem like beneficial upgrades, the reality of their utility post-Olympics is quite another story. The majority of the financial burden fell squarely on the shoulders of Russian taxpayers. This immense investment was justified by promises of a booming post-Olympic economy, promises that, sadly, have largely failed to materialize. Today, many of the once buzzing Olympic facilities are eerily quiet, underused, if at all, pointing to a classic case of white elephant syndrome. But the financial aftermath is just one part of the story. Environmental and human rights concerns also cast a long shadow over the Sochi Games. The construction boom led to widespread environmental degradation. Protected areas were damaged, and the construction debris polluted the once pristine Black Sea coast. Additionally, the rush to finish the projects on time meant a surge in labor violations, with workers reporting unpaid wages and poor living conditions. These issues sparked international concerns and brought a critical focus on the broader implications of hosting such a grandiose event. The spotlight was as much on the human and environmental costs as it was on the glittering new facilities. As the years have passed, the initial dazzle of the Sochi Olympics has faded, leaving behind questions about the true legacy of these games. The economic boost that was hoped for has not been as impactful as predicted. The ghostly echoes in the unused venues stand as stark reminders of what these games have truly cost. Sochi spent extravagantly, yet the promised economic surge turned into a trickle. Rio de Janeiro, a city of vibrant culture and stark contrasts, hosted the 2016 Summer Olympics. The anticipation was palpable. With promises of revitalization and development, the Rio Olympics were supposed to be a spectacle of not just sport, but also of progress. The reality, however, painted a starkly different picture. Initially, the Games were seen as an opportunity to showcase Rio on the global stage, and indeed, the world watched. But behind the dazzling performances and record-breaking feats, there was another story unfolding, one of economic strain and broken promises. The cost of hosting the Olympics soared to an astronomical $11 billion, a figure that far exceeded initial estimates. This financial burden came at a time when Brazil was already grappling with an economic crisis. The massive spending on Olympic infrastructure seemed increasingly misguided, as essential public services suffered cuts and the country's economy continued to falter. Political corruption further complicated matters. Numerous construction contracts were awarded in opaque deals that later sparked investigations and arrests, revealing a web of corruption that drained resources from much-needed public projects. Moreover, many of the infrastructure projects heralded as legacies of the Olympics remain incomplete to this day. The high-speed train that was supposed to connect the city's center with the Olympic venues is an example, promised to the public, yet never delivered. The social impact was perhaps even more profound. In the lead-up to the Games, thousands of families were displaced to make way for Olympic facilities. These displacements often involved force and little to no compensation. The result was an exacerbation of the city's already severe inequality, with more people pushed into poverty, further straining the social fabric of Rio. Despite the fanfare, the Olympics left Rio with numerous abandoned venues, a testament to the transient glory of such international events. These ghostly structures stand as monuments to mismanagement and misplaced priorities. The legacy of the Rio Olympics is not gold medals but unfulfilled promises and persistent inequality. As these cities show, the Olympics can sometimes leave a legacy far removed from the dreams of prosperity. Across the globe, the echoes of Olympic fanfare fade into the somber silence of abandoned stadiums and economic strain. Montreal's 1976 financial burden took nearly 3 decades to resolve, a stark reminder of the weight of glory. Athens, once buoyed by the excitement of the 2004 Games, now navigates through relics-turned-ghost venues, silently testifying to fleeting splendor and lasting debt. Sochi and Rio, too, tell tales of transient triumph. The snows of Sochi's winter wonderland have melted away, revealing the overspending and environmental disregard left in the wake of the 2014 Games. Meanwhile, Rio de Janeiro's 2016 promises of revitalization and prosperity remain largely unfulfilled, with many facilities now lying dormant, a stark contrast to the vibrant life once envisioned. These stories compel us to scrutinize the true cost of hosting such monumental events. They invite us to question whether the fleeting glory is worth the enduring challenges. Next time a city announces its bid to host the Olympics, one must wonder, at what cost?